much I do know. Though darkness may blind you, I'll come and find you. You know that it's so. And when I'm lonely, you are the only answer I see. And when I'm weary, whenever you're near me, I know that I am free. I do know, though darkness may blind you, I'll come and find you. You know that it's so. And when I'm lonely, you are the only answer I see. And when I'm weak, whenever you're near me, I know that I am
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our love-streamed service of the River of Grass Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Davie, Florida, where we are under shelter-in-place orders. So we meet here, where the medium is virtual, but the bonds of community are some of the realest things we can know in this time of great uncertainty. It is good to be together any way we can. My name is Amy Horton Tavera. My pronouns are she and her. Reverend Amy Carol Webb is away for renewal and contemplation currently, and she will return to the pulpit on September 6th. In this congregation, it is our mission to nurture our spirits, love intentionally, and create a just and healthy planet in our enduring search for truth, meaning, and faith. What we share here is not an unchanging dogma, but an affirmation that we are called to be agents of love and justice and to build a world where everyone is cherished for who they are. Our mission is not changed in this time in which the world seems to have tilted on its axis, but all the more a brilliant flame lighting our way. Our connections are not weakened by the physical distance we must keep at this time, but strengthened in our growing awareness of and gratitude for our bonds with one another, with the interconnected web of all being, and with the holy by any name. However you made your way among us this morning, we welcome you. Whoever you are, however you are, wherever you are, we welcome you as you are, and we promise never to just leave you there. Now, let us breathe into this moment together, remembering that not everyone can breathe freely, and not everyone is free to breathe. This morning, as we consider the story, Tiny the God, and a theme of You Are Not Alone, our opening is an adaptation of words by Calvin O'Dame entitled Acknowledgement of Limitations. We come into one another's presence, seeking some part of ourselves, knowing that we do not live alone, knowing that we cannot live fully if we are for ourselves alone. We come as ordinary people, each with strengths and each with weaknesses, aware of our shortcomings. Our lives set before us many tasks. We are not always equal to them. Too often, we fall short of our best expectations of ourselves. We do not know enough. We are not always patient. We fall into anger. We cannot find strength. We do not wait for wisdom. We lack vision. It hurts. It hurts to acknowledge our shortcomings. And yet, here we are, not always perfect, not always wise, but always human, gloriously and miraculously alive and breathing, wondrously and mysteriously human. May our time together renew our hope. May the stories we share refresh our courage. May the songs we sing lift our spirits. May the words we speak invigorate us. May our virtual handshakes and hugs, the sound of laughter, the sight of faces, new and familiar, restore us in faith. Amen.
Like oil lamps, we put them out the back of our houses, of our minds. We had lights better than, newer than, and then. A time came, this time and now. We need them, their dread makeshift example. They would have thrived on our necessities. What they survived, we could not even live. By their lights now, it is time to imagine how they stood there, what they stood with, that their possessions may become our power. Cardboard, iron, their hardships parceled in them. Patience, fortitude, long suffering in the bruise-colored dusk of the new world. And all the old songs, and nothing to lose.
The flaming chalice is a symbol of our Unitarian Universalist tradition, a beacon of religious liberty shining through generations, now ours to hold high. Please join your voices for this morning's chalice lighting.
In sightless night, terror draws near. Nameless fears of talon and tooth. Hopelessness yawns before us, an abyss. Alone and unknown in the gloom, longing for the dawn. O sacred flame, blaze forth, wisdom brought to life. Guide us with the light of hope, the warmth of love, the beacon of purpose and meaning, because we are all afraid of the dark. Let there be light.
In the light of love, let us renew our covenant as we say together.
Love is the spirit of this congregation, and Sabbath is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
El amor es el espíritu de esta congregación y el servicio su ley principal. Esta es nuestra gran promesa, vivir juntos en paz, buscar la verdad a través del amor y ayudarnos mutuamente.
Still with thee, nor leaves thy side, and I am thine, I rest in thee. Great Spirit, come and rest in me.
In our community each week, we share pieces of our lives. This too takes a new form for our new normal. We take a moment in the rush of our lives, here with people who love us for exactly who we are, where we are, right now. If you'd like to share a thought, a prayer, a joy, or concern with us in this moment, we'll open our chat space now. Please write it there, and we will lift them up together. So I see early from Robbie Greenberg. She says, please hold in your hearts the family of Ford Getman, I hope I'm pronouncing that name correctly, who passed away from the virus last week. Ford was a huge fan of the River of Grass Cafe and Labyrinth Cafe. Going back 16 or 17 years, I invited him to Labyrinth as my guest, and as Susan Moss said, he attended more concerts than anyone else. Ford was born with cerebral palsy and lived his life in his wheelchair, but that didn't hold him back from enjoying it. When I found out that he was a deadhead, I knew he would love folk music, and he did. Susan Moss and I held a front row seat for him at every concert, and he became a part of our music community. He will be sorely missed. So sorry to hear that. From Ken and Leanna Bresnahan to everyone, Janet Schwartz and Ken Bresnahan want to express their gratitude to the many brave members who have helped pack up our River of Grass valuables. We're 99.9% complete, and the moving truck arrives tomorrow morning, July 27th. So, yeah, good job. From Susan Moss to everyone, Robbie, thanks for sharing this with me on Friday and with our community this morning. I am heartbroken and cannot imagine a world without Ford. It makes a heart sign. From Susan Juncosa to everyone, so many thanks to Janet and Ken. From Ellen and Gail Geese to everyone, prayers to our friends Marilyn and Terry Jo, NAMI advocates who are battling COVID-19. From Judy Altmans to everyone, I light a candle in gratitude that my husband Rick is doing well and had a good report from the cardiologist. Thank you for all the well wishes. From Ellie to everyone, my sister Fruit, who is walking now, has a new grandson. Charlie was born July 21st, and he is so cute. From Diane Lay to everyone, prayers for our friend and landscaper Don, whose wife is now battling COVID. I would like to add prayers for my friend Mata Brazai, who just had brain surgery for cancer that has metastasized. And it looks like that's all we have this morning. So let us share now a moment of silent reflection. We lift these things, spoken and unspoken, asking that our hearts be seen, even as we become seers of hearts, that we may serve one another and those beyond our walls with love and thankfulness today and every day. Amen, Amen, Amin, Aho, Ashe, Namaste, blessed be, and so it is.
Good morning. Today's story is Tiny the God by Becky Brooks. Once upon a time, there was a tiny little itty bitty, very small, very tiny, very little God named Tiny. She lived her life hearing stories about all the big gods, and well, let's face it, she was jealous. She knew she needed to find some spark that made her existence meaningful. And so Tiny watched the humans for a while, and then she happened upon an idea. She thought, this'll let them know that I'm the bomb. Ready? Here it is. You are not alone. She took the form of a very light breeze, and in a voice so quiet each person could only hear it in their minds, she said, you are not alone. You are not alone. People loved it. I mean, who wouldn't love to hear that? And so pretty soon Tiny was comforting people all over with you are not alone. Every evening she would take the form of the breeze and whisper it in the minds of the people, until she encountered someone who wasn't comforted at all. When Miriam heard Tiny's words, instead of feeling comforted, she felt agitated. She kept saying it to herself over and over again. You are not alone. You are not alone. And she tossed and she turned and she couldn't sleep. In the morning, she went to read the paper, and instead of skimming it like she usually did, she found herself drinking in every single story. She was only halfway through when she was crying. I am not alone, she said. I am connected to every one of these people. They live in my town and my country and the world. They love their children like I love mine. They're scared sometimes, and so am I. They hurt like I hurt. I am not alone. I can help. Tiny was surprised. It hadn't occurred to her that someone might think of it that way. And so she watched over Miriam as this interesting development took place. She saw Miriam meet a coworker online in a meeting, and they talked about a law that they wanted passed. And then Tiny noticed when Miriam got off the call, she wrote a letter right away to her senator and mailed it. She noticed that when Miriam turned in an online order for groceries, she bought a little extra and then delivered it and left it on her neighbor's porch. She noticed that Miriam got tears in her eyes when she gathered for online worship with her congregation and they sang her favorite hymn. She watched as Miriam wrote postcards to friends far and near and family, and she waved to dog passers as they walked by, and she hung lights in her window to cheer the walkers as they passed by on the street. But most importantly, Tiny watched when Miriam received a call from a long-lost friend, someone she hadn't talked to in years. And he said, I'm really having a hard time right now. And as he started to explain his troubles, he began to cry. Miriam pulled up her favorite chair and sat down and said, take your time. I'm listening. You are not alone. I am here. I am here. Tiny heard those words echo in her mind. You are not alone. I am here. You are not alone. I am here. In that moment, Tiny knew that she was nothing without Miriam's hands and heart and spirit. And she knew that what she wanted, what the world needed more than anything, was what Miriam had learned to give. So Tiny went to work. Instead of just spending her evenings spreading the gospel of you are not alone, she spent her night times doing it too, and her mornings and her afternoons, and pretty soon she was spending every moment until she became the breeze itself. That's why there are no paintings of Tiny, no busts or holy books, just a breeze, a low voice and many, many helping hands, loving hearts, and caring spirits. You can hear the echo if you listen closely. When water bottles are left in the desert for those who risk crossing it, you are not alone. I am here. At the bedside of a dying man, you are not alone. I am here. In the jailhouse and the sanctuary, you are not alone. I am here. Separate and together, you are not alone. I am here. May it be so.
Hello, everyone. I'm Zena Tucker, and my pronouns are she and her. Today's message is dedicated to two of our Unitarian Universalist principles. The fourth principle, a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. And our seventh principle, respect for the interdependent web of all existence, of which we are a part. Did you enjoy the wisdom story? It spoke to me profoundly, and I pictured myself as the character of Miriam. Later, upon reflection, I started thinking more about Tiny, the God character. Who was Tiny? What did Tiny represent? And what about the central theme of "You are not alone" applies to us and myself? Let's explore. As you heard earlier, our River of Grass mission says we will nurture our spirits. Could the nurturing come from Tiny? Or from our own version of God? Or from other people, like the story? Let me share a tiny personal story. It's very tiny. I am considered an essential employee, and this pandemic has been challenging. Telework was only possible for a couple of continuous weeks. I needed to physically return to the office, a cubicle. The thought of returning frightened me, and to see some of my coworkers not following the protocols correctly sometimes worried me. My first day back, I was determined to only sit at my desk, take a few restroom breaks and kitchen runs, and minimally interact, and absolutely no conference room meetings. My office plant had suffered during my absence. It looked very wilted up on its cabinet, leaning to one side. I gave it a drink of water. Well, my day had barely started when I was told I must attend an in-person meeting. Well, as you can guess, I was anxious, and I got angry. Let me circle back to talk about the plant. I have proudly kept this plant alive through all kinds of challenges over the years. Periods when I was working in crisis for long hours, when it was easy to forget this plant, but somehow I remembered to water it. I traveled and went on vacation, but my coworkers usually gave the plant water in my absence. And even with some neglect, this plant never wilted. During Hurricane Irma, I was working, and the air conditioning went kaput, and the temperature inside climbed sky high. No matter, my plant and I held on and kept our spirits high. Thus, it was a sad sight when I returned after my teleworking absence to see my plant in poor shape. Where were my coworkers? Why did I not remember to bring the plant home? Alas, this pandemic is a different kind of storm. After my mandatory meeting, I was still angry, and I stormed back to my desk and sat down, bumped my cabinet, and down crashed my plant. This green and hardy plant that was my partner through thick and thin now suffered another devastating blow. It felt as though I was this broken pot and sad plant. I felt alone, and I mourned. Why now? I just muddled through the rest of my workday. Now enters Tiny to whisper in my ear. It began with the music we sang in choir, getting stuck in my head. You know, the old songs, each with a message I needed to hear. The lone wild bird is still with me, and I rested thinking of the blessings of nature's images it evoked. It followed with comfort from my husband and family. When I came home with my plant remnants, my poor plant remnants, my husband matter-of-factly repotted it immediately, and it sits happy as ever at my house. Tiny whispers further by the love and support of my covenant group who listen to my small tales without judgment. And just a small aside about covenant groups. They are small groups of no more than 12 people who meet for connection and spiritual growth. And ours meets weekly, but we used to before the COVID meet only monthly. But nevertheless, they've been like a second family to me. So if you're interested in learning more about small groups, put something in the chat. Next, I recalled the tenacity and courage of people who have faced trouble head on, such as those in the beautiful poem and the images we saw just a moment ago. And finally, another whisper came to me when Reverend Amy Carol Webb's message about the lovey, do you remember that one? The lovey being a blanket of special meaning and support in times of trial. I remembered it then. Coincidentally? Maybe. The next day I go to work and I remember a little stuffed bear that was tucked away in my desk drawer that one of my best pals at work had gifted me a few years back. I pulled the bear out of obscurity, dusted it off, and gave it a hug. And now it sits proudly next to my computer screen, and I don't care who sees it. It has given me comfort and courage to press on. Huge challenges are before us. What about the injustice, the racism, the poverty, the lack of health care, the virus, the violence, and the list goes on, right here in our own backyard? What hope do we have to address these mounting problems? I have only to listen a little bit to Tiny the God, to know it will be a long journey and one best done with others to help. Tiny gods and loveys have helped me find courage thus far, and Tiny is here for me now, in this moment, in your faces. Whether these mysterious whisperings of comfort and courage come from God or forces of nature or from listening to our friends, they have sustained me and strengthened me. I know I'm not alone. These whisperings inspire me to help others and in turn find connection and happiness. My friends, my spirit is nurtured by love from this beloved community, River of Grass. May we find comfort and courage from the knowledge that we are not alone because we listen to our version of Tiny the God. May we each make our world better and our hearts light by becoming tiny gods ourselves.
My life goes on in endless song above His lamentation. I hear the real far of Him that is a new creation. Through all the tumult and the strife, I hear the music ringing. It sounds an soul. How can I keep
friends rejoice, so far and near. How can I keep from singing to friends of south and dungeon far? Our thoughts to them are winging. When friends I name are undefiled, how can I keep from singing?
We sustain and strengthen this beloved community and its mission in our world through the gifts of our time and skills, our love and laughter, and our money. Each Sunday, half of our undesignated offerings go to LifeNet for Families, which provides hot meals 365 days a year, as well as clothing and support here in Broward County. The other half supports the mission and ministry of River of Grass. This sharing practice is more crucial than ever in this tumultuous time, where we commit again to do our part to support the people most at risk in our community. So, since we can't pass our baskets as usual right now, how do we do that? We have centralized several ways to give on our River of Grass website at the link you see on the screen and in the chat. If you like using text to give, you can still do that. If you're accustomed to putting a regular amount in the basket, you can now do that digitally on our Donate webpage, either by using the Donate button or contacting our office to set up an automatic donation so you don't have to think about it until we gather again. You can take a moment to do that now as the music plays, or do it later, or if you need support to set that up, please contact our office and we'll help. Whatever method works best for you, please give generously and joyfully, that we may feed and fortify this congregation and its good work in the world that needs it now more than ever. We extinguish this chalice flame, but not the fire that burns within, nor the light that leads us on.
Our closing words are from Wayne B. Arneson. Take courage, friends. Take courage, friends. The way is often hard, and the path is never clear, and the stakes are very high. Take courage, for deep down there is another truth. You are not alone. In these changing times, let us all be more vigilant to hold before us a vision of the world transformed, and dare to transform ourselves to make it so. Until we meet again, shine on.